the Josh?
Hi. Yes, sir.
I can't hear you all. How's the Josh?
Hi.
Now that's some energy. I am Ananya Thukral and I'm currently pursuing PGDM HRM from International Management Institute, New Delhi. On behalf of career change makers, I would like to welcome all of you once again. Our next panel discussion of the day will be on industry-academia interface, how to build bridges and bridge gaps. The discussion would revolve around the methods through which technology could be leveraged to bridge the gap between academia and industry, ways to enhance employability of students, skills relevant for entry-level jobs, and other relevant dimensions. We sincerely thank our panelist speakers for taking out the time from their schedules and joining us today. The first speaker on the panel is someone who is a veteran business HR with operational excellence in creating exceptional workforce success. She is currently working at Avic Management Services Private Limited as Head of Human Resource Development. She has over 2 decades of experience in mobility, supply chain, and edtech industries. She is passionate about creating exceptional workplaces that drive individual and organizational success. With a huge round of applause, we would now like to welcome Ms. Sunanda Rao on the stage. Our second panelist for the discussion is someone who is Head HR India at IT by Design. With a vast experience spanning almost 2 decades, she brings in her ability to act as first counsel to the leadership and in creating a value-driven, diverse and inclusive cultural environment for the organizations. She has completed an executive program in strategic HRM from IIM Ahmedabad. Some of her areas of expertise include innovation in creating alignment in corporate strategy and people agendas, optimization and creating efficiencies, employee relations, culture building, manpower planning, and talent management, among others. With a huge round of applause, we would now like to welcome Ms. Amrita Singh on the stage. We also have with us Mr. Dheeraj Jain, who is Director at HR consulting firm Regraduate, which specializes in leadership hiring. He has over 9 years of entrepreneurial experience. An MBA from Faculty of Management Studies, Mr. Jain has been a guest speaker at industry bodies like CII, FICCI, AIMA, and top education institutions like IITs, IIMs, ISB, and FMS. With a huge round of applause, we would now like to welcome Mr. Dheeraj on the stage. Our next speaker on the panel is Ms. Surbhi Soni, who is an assistant manager at KPMG Global Services. She has completed her MBA in Human Resource Management from MDI Gurgaon. She is an experienced HR consultant, having worked across information technology, pharmaceutical, and service industries. Her previous working experience has been with reputed firms like Cipla and Capgemini. Surbhi is extremely passionate about employee engagement, employer branding, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Please give a round of applause to Ms. Surbhi Soni. And our panel moderator for the panel is Ms. Neeru Monga, who is currently working as manager and location head lead at Deloitte. She is very passionate about it. She's a very passionate HR professional with 12 plus years of experience across all phases of employee life cycle, including talent management and development, performance management, talent acquisition, etc. With an MBA in HR from IMI New Delhi, Neeru is a distinguished HR professional with several national level accolades to her name. Some of them include the 40 and the 40 Award under HR category, the WICA Diversity Champion Award, HR Influencer Award, among others. Please give a round of applause to Ms. Neeru.
So, thanks everyone. I'm sure you're having a great experience so far. Whatever sessions we had, there was diversity in terms of whatever we've covered. Now, this is going to be entirely a different topic, what we want to discuss as a panel. Before we get started, just one line of introduction, your name, your organization, and then we'll get started. Okay. I'm Neeru. I'm going to moderate this panel. I'll just pass it on to Dheeraj.
Hi guys, I'm Dheeraj. I run a company called Regraduate. Hi everybody, I'm Amrita. I'm heading HR for IT by Design.
Hi, good evening everyone. I'm Sunanda. I take care of HR for Aveg Management Services, which is into mobility services.
Hi everyone, good evening. I am Surabhi Soni and I'm into the role of HR business partner with KPMG Global Services.
Thanks panel. So when we say industry, academia, collaboration, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Placements. I'm really going to discuss this. This question is going to be put to the panel for sure. What else comes to your mind when I say industry, academia, collaboration? One word. Do we have any students here? Oh, we do have. What about you? Seminars? What else? Research? Okay. So when I say gap between these two sectors, let's say industry and academia, now what is the first word that would come to your mind? Skilling. That's major gap, I would say. What else?
I think the practical experience that we don't get maybe, in the academic with the bridge to the practical experience that is required in the corporates.
Right. So when industry or organizations visit campuses, they look for industry-ready students. They want people to join them and start working right away. Are students ready for that? They are taught what is a job description, how do you make a KSA, what is a competency framework, what is BI, STAR technique and everything. But when you're hired, put into job, and you're asked to draft a job description, are they able to do it? They'll struggle big time. We are giving them exposure in terms of internships, but are they doing enough internships? That's a question. Are they doing enough internships? Open to audience here. Mahika, Ananya students here. B school students, I have management students here. Exactly. Now that's the point here, right? So live projects, they get into, still they want to score really well. They don't get time. There's no bandwidth. I still remember my B school days. I would get up at 3 a.m., sleep for 3 hours, get up, start working, prepare for quiz. I would not have time. How do you get time to work on internships and get into live projects? That becomes a gap. And when you get into an organization, people don't have time. Your managers are not going to sit and, teach you, tell you how things are done. You are expected to start working right from day one. When I joined my current organization, I did not have any mentoring at all. I learned everything on the job. Everything, right from the scratch. Nobody was there to guide. There's a 70-20-10 model. 70% of your learning happens on the job. So when students are pursuing their education, they are learning wherever they are pursuing their education from. Right? So they are learning from their faculty, their network, whatever information you feed, that's what they learn. They get into Google search, they think more the information, more the knowledge they get. But is it the right browsing they're doing online? That's a question. Are they getting right mentoring? Are they connecting enough with the corporate leaders or managers or industry people to know whether they are on right track or not? So that guidance, right? There's a lot of engagement that's needed. So there are a lot of other things that we would want to discuss as a panel here. Let me get started with Sunanda first. Sunanda, what do you think? What are the challenges faced by academia and what does the industry need?
Okay. Once again, good evening to everyone. This is the core of the topic and love of my life because I work towards this youth thing. And I'm a mentor of change, by the way, for Atal. So one of the things which Neeru, I believe, there are two things which we are talking about. One is academia, one is industry. Now let's talk about what is needed and what is the gap. Now when we talk about academia as a gap, we see that academia is having too much of pressure on multiple things. One, the faculty is not only teaching, they are actually engaged into many of the activities, and college or the school, wherever the teachers are also there, they are not only teaching, they are doing so many multiple activities. Now the essence of a teacher or a faculty is to guide the students so that they are better well versed with the topic. Now when we talk about the gap in the academia, the first thing we see is the curriculum. The most of the time the curriculum is not industry ready. Secondly, most of the time when industry academia approaches to industry, they just talk about मैम internship के लिए बंदे को ले लो, free में ले लो, भले ही आप stipend के साथ दे दो, minimum stipend के साथ दे दो, but आप internship दे दो. Then they will fight about कि भाई आप please placement के लिए आ जाओ, take any of the roles. Now what happens whenever the people, students, either they're graduates or postgraduate, and pardon me my students, I know I have been into the same journey in past, right? I see when the companies, they come to the, campuses, they will look forward for the people with experience. And we are hiring freshers, and we mention 0 to 6 months experience is okay. But believe me, we are not looking for 0. We are looking for 6, 3 or something. Because first 3 months, first 6 months for a student to sit in an office environment is something that is not taught in the classroom. That is number one. Number two, when we are taught, I'm an HR person, right? When I was doing my MBA in HR, I was taught organizational behavior, motivation, economics, ये वो. लेकिन मुझे पहले दिन ये बताया ही नहीं गया था कि joining documents कुछ होता है. I have to sit in the class, I'm sitting in the class, I'm habitual of 40-50 minutes class, but I'm not habitual of sitting from 9:30 to 6, right? We have a cafeteria, so we go do a matam gashti when we are in the student's life, right? But as an academia, we fail, or the academia fails, that these are the corporate etiquettes which are required. They don't know Microsoft Excel. They don't know how to put a formula. This is the biggest gap that academia is having. And this is what industry is looking. I belong to an industry. And when I'm hiring the fresh graduates for my company, I see these are the basic things which are not there. उन लोगों को एक रटाफिकेशन कर दिया जाता है. What are your long-term goals? What are the short-term goals? Why do you want to join this company? Bas. A ready-made script is given and every student of that place is talking about it. So coming back to the gaps, what academia is having, first is the curriculum is outdated. Secondly, the placement coordinators or the people who are in the placement cell, they would be just looking for internship or the final placement. They are not bothered how much skilling of the students has been done. And as an industry, if I go to any corporate, or my need is that the student should be ready and adaptable to the culture of our company so that they get into the DNA of the organization. This is what industry actually needs.
I think that's great. Right. Dheeraj, what do you think, while Sunanda has spoken about challenges, how can industry and academia join forces, and how can technology be enabled?
Honestly, I think that academia-industry partnership has to be like any good human relationship. I would say it has to be like a marriage, and no ordinary marriage with everyday greh kalesh, but something like the marriage you would see for Infosys founder Mr. N.R. Narayan Murthy and his better half Sudha Murthy, right? So every academia institution relation and organization relationship has to be respectful of each other's shortcomings, appreciative of what they can bring to the table, and have reasonable expectations. I think if there is one thing that causes misery in any relationship, that it is always unrealistic expectation. If you don't believe me, ask Hrithik Roshan and Kangana Ranaut. That's the kind of relationship most academia and companies have. Because each one is always blaming the other, but not recognizing the facts that it is like a long-term partnership that needs to work with cooperation and collaboration, and not by pointing fingers. Coming to technology, how it can be leveraged, I think there is some element that can be brought to the table. You can get good matches on Tinder as well, but if you don't have the right intention and a long-term view at hand, no long-term relationship, no sustainable relationship can be built, no matter how techy or how much AI you bring to the table, if you don't have a long-term horizon of the view. Same, I believe, is the need of the hour for academia and organizational partnerships. Both sides need to think that, do they want to just have a partnership for placements, or do they want to have partnerships for round-the-year engagements, for ensuring that there is investment in building the partnership, and not just short-term, gain of placements for both the companies and institutions.
Okay, so that, reminds me of one experience. So whenever any organizations would visit campus, we look at the name, how much compensation they are giving, what is the role, which organization is it. We are freshers, right? We should not get into these things. I think learning is more important initially, is what I feel. Not looking at the compensation. Everything will come your way. Give your 100%, get into an organization, everything will come your way, right? But I think that's a mentality, probably I see that mindset has to change somewhere, these are again some of the gaps. So moving on to Surbhi. Surbhi, what do you think, what skills are relevant for entry-level jobs? You know, we know that students get into corporates and there are certain skills that are required for placements. What skills, you are in HR and you're working with one of the big fours. So from your corporate experience, what do you think?
Thank you for the question, Neeru. And I think I, first of all, totally resonate with all the opinions that have been shared here. I have been campus placed 5 years back from MDI, and at that point of time, I did not know how to use Excel, seriously. And we have been taught OB, we have been taught, all sorts of things in the classes, but not, what has to be done on the job. Like 70-20-10 model talks about, I have learned most of the things on the job. I have worked in industries like consulting, pharma, and now I'm working in an audit sector as an HRBP. Trust me, every industry, the working is very different, and for me it is like, again, working from the start, because you have to understand the business to, kind of start working. And that brings me back to the question that what are the skills required for an entry-level job. So I think skills that are required for an entry-level job are crucial for the growth of our workforce. And when an employer looks for the skills in an individual, they not just look for the basic qualification. Suppose they're being hired for an audit. So CA or ACCA is something that will be required out of you, but there are certain skills which are very important, and those skills are communication skills. First of all, you should be very, proficient in written and verbal communication. You should be, able to clearly communicate to your stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, your boss, your, other stakeholders, if you are working in a client environment, your client, articulation is must. Another thing that is very important is adaptability. I think most of the speakers have spoken about that, we operate in a VUCA world. Everything is changing, everything is volatile. So we have to learn how to adapt to different scenarios. Today you will be working on a client, tomorrow you will be working on a different client. The expectations changes from, 180 degrees. So you have to quickly adapt, you have to learn, unlearn and relearn. That is something that you have to be good at. So adaptability is another thing that is very important. Next thing that comes is problem solving skills. You should be able to critically analyze the situation and come up with a solution very quickly. Nobody in today's world is going to wait for you to, take 2 days time or 3 days time and come up with a solution. It is a race. You have to kind of come up, with a solution, and it should be out of the box thinking. That is something that, employees look at. So this is another thing that, you should be proficient at apart from your basic education skills. One very important thing that I want to highlight here as we talk about the tech in HR or tech in any other, industry is digital literacy. When you start a job, at least you should be proficient in, simple systems like Excel, Word, and, basic data analysis like data crunching, how the dashboards are worked, small things like pivots. These are very small things that, you will not see or not being taught in colleges, but when you work or when you come to the corporate, this is one thing which comes very handy. So make sure that, these are very small courses available on internet. Just go through them before you join the corporate. For the students who are already there, I'm sure people who are working, they must be knowing how important it is. Another thing is emotional intelligence. Though, we always talk about the IQ and everything, but emotional intelligence is something where, which talks about understanding your emotions as well as the team's emotions. So this is one of the major things that comes across, and this is also one of the major skill that has been highlighted by the Gallup Strength Finder program also. It is a test and it kind of, highlights the top qualities that you have. So these are the things, and last but not the least, professionalism is one very important thing. When I talk about professionalism, it is about, coming to the office on time, accepting and declining the meetings. This is highlighted at a very high level that, you are not professional. Come in time, come in proper professional attire, if it is smart casuals, if it is, business outfit, whatever it is. So please follow these basic things. I think this is very much required apart from the basic qualification. And like everybody said, that, right now the academia is all focused on rote learning. We actually have to focus on the practical learning aspect. So please, try and connect more and more with your alums, with other people who are working in the field, and see what is happening in other space as well. So this will give you a clear picture. So So I think this is all about it from my end. Thank you so much, Neeru.
Great insight. So trust me, when you connect with the alum, they'll be more than happy to help you. It's all about connecting and reaching out to them. The moment you take your B school's name, they'll know, okay, you are from my college. So start connecting, reaching out to people. That really helps. And when you spoke about Excel, I was able to resonate what used to happen in B school days. So there used to be two groups. One would be really afraid of Excel. They would not know VLOOKUP, Excel, graph, data, and all. They would dashboards, macros. No, they were really scared of it. And there was one group wherein people were very good at it. They can create any sort of data analysis. The moment you get into depth of analytics, trust me, you can crack any job in an organization. You really have to be good with numbers. Like one of our speakers spoke about data crunching, right? How good you should, Vishnu spoke about this, I remember. You really need to understand business really well. And you can't do that without understanding data. So it's really important. One of the most important skills, I would say, that.
Absolutely. I think, as HR professionals, we are given with data. Suppose, for example, attrition. If you know how to, look at the data and analyze the data, you can present different views to your business, like, different views in terms of gender, in terms of, how people are leaving, how people are joining. It also helps in predictive analysis, like, Vishnu and other speakers spoke about. It kind of, you don't need AI or anything. It's just, looking at the data and analyzing maybe say 5 years of data. Look at the 5 years of exit data, look at the 5 years of hiring data. You will catch a glimpse of what the trend is talking about. So I think this is very important to note.
I would say one should get into whatever scares them the most. If you're afraid of Excel, get into Excel related job. I mean, that's how you learn. If you keep pushing yourself, no, this is not something I like doing, then you will not grow. I think the key is to get into what scares you, right? And that's how we learn. Okay, so moving on now, what are the best and most practical ways to enhance employability of students? I see there are students who are not able to get placed, and there are certain skills that Surbi spoke about are lacking. Probably that is why they're not able to get placed. So what do you think? How should we go about this issue? I'll ask this question from Amrita.
Sure, I'll make it short. One of the bane of going the last is that everybody's got everything covered. So I'll try to make this short. See, I think since morning we've been talking about India's diversifying, India's expanding, right? We are, by the way, the third largest startup hub globally, right? What does that mean? That means more opportunities. What does that mean? That means that everybody can find something or the other to work upon. And of course, I do agree with you, Sunanda, but I also think that academia is also moving very aggressively. It's supercharged right now. However, despite, people being at the best of their knowledge right now, academia doing so many things to get ahead right now, we are still lagging behind in employability. I got some stats for you here, and I promise not to make it boring. The trend is not bad, actually. If you see from 2021, this is a VBox India Skills Report. 2021, it was 46.2%, which was the employability. 23, it is 50.3%. It's a great number. That means all is not grim. Things are much better. Things are moving ahead. I think what's missing, definitely one thing that we really miss as organizations is we do not have a lot of participation of females. It's a dismal 28% in STEM. That is what we would like to see, because everybody is now moving to a diverse, more inclusive workforce. Having said that, I think, Ms. Soni has covered almost everything that you are supposed to do technically. Let me focus on the behavioral aspects. Essential skills are missing, and let me lay it out for you. Why? Do we know how to get bored anymore? Do we get bored? You get 2 minutes break, where do you go? Instagram? Facebook? Because you've got your really successful digital personas right in front of you, right? Why would you take those 2 minutes to talk to somebody who's sitting right next to you? You don't do that. That is what is missing. People have forgotten how to connect. People have forgotten how to collaborate, how to work in a team which is on-site, not virtual. People have forgotten how to really communicate with each other. And that, my friends, is not going to make any of us employable if we have forgotten how to do that, right? Secondly, and I love this portion, stickiness, and I'll give you an example. Stickiness in a profile, stickiness in an organization. You stick to something. You learn it before you just leave it aside, right? You can't just let everything go, oh, this is boring. And I'll give you a great example. A couple of years ago, I hired a couple of interns. Very good college, let me not name it. And they were hired for HR internship. 2 days later, they came to me and said, ma'am, we wanted to make a request. We are very bored. I think the second major that we're doing is marketing. Let's move to marketing. Can you allow us to do that? I said, okay. I didn't like it. And I was angry. But of course, they need to be experimental, so it's fine. I said, okay, move to marketing. 2 days in marketing, they came back to me. I said, ma'am, वहाँ तो धूप में चलना पड़ता है. Coupons scale करने के लिए, we have been told to do a market study. It's very hot. Can you come back to HR? Guys, what does this tell you? You're not able to make up your mind, but you don't have to really worry about rolling up your sleeves and working. I mean, it is required, all of us who are here, people, and I have been in the industry now for almost 20 years, we've rolled up our sleeves, and one of my, very first bosses is sitting right here, and he is testimony to this. I joined from a premium institute as a campus hire, right? The first thing that we were given, there was no chat GPT. We were asked to translate English questions to Hindi and Hindi to English. We hated it. 1 month we spent cribbing, but we did the task because that is what we used to do those days. 3 months later when we were on the field, I was one of those people whom other people could come and ask questions because I had done that activity so thoroughly, I could answer the questions that people were not prepared for, very confidently, because mujhe to rat gaya tha, clearly. Second assignment, what we did, we had to send out appointment letters to, it was the first public-private partnership. We had to send 2,500 appointment letters through speed post. Okay? So when we went to, and we literally carried them along with us, 2 of us campus hires, we went to the post office. The post office, the lady there, she said, this is too much of work, please sit here, take your glue, take your stamps, and do it. I'm not going to do it. 3 days we sat in that post office stamping letters. And we were like, oh my God, what are we doing? Yeah. But believe me, those activities have made us what we are today. You learn the nitty-gritties by doing that. You can't just read about it. Try learning a new skill virtually. You will not be able to pick it up. It will not be on your fingertips. It's only when you actually do things will you remember, will you know how to do them, right? There's this other thing that is really missing. Inadequate knowledge. We've been talking about since morning again. Blockchain, automation, AI, ML, they're all such big scary words, right? I can with confidence say that there's not a single person in this room and even earlier who can raise their hand and say, ki mujhe sab aata hai. It is scary. That means it's scary for all of us. That means as people who are just starting their careers, it's scary for you. We will learn to adapt. It is all pervasive, whether you're in HR, whether you're in finance, it doesn't matter where you are. You will have to learn how this is going to impact your jobs in 2 years and maybe 6 months and maybe a year and a half, right? It is going to do that because if you don't do that, you become redundant very soon. Then building your brand, and this is one thing that you really should focus on. How many of you can look at your social media profiles and you will find them to be employer friendly? I'm not talking about wild parties, pictures. I'm talking about everything that you've posted on your social media. And by the way, there are tools these days available with the organization that will make your profile when you're getting hired. What have you posted? What have you commented? What kind of pictures you have, where you are, what you've been doing? Are they employer friendly? I will just leave it to you to answer that question. I don't need answers from there. A lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm sure to all of us, right? Ma'am, we want to connect, we want to learn. And then it's done. वो network में आ गया, हो गया. What about participation? What about asking questions? What about posting articles? Nothing is wrong. Till the time you don't have 5-6 years of experience, everything is forgiven to a fresher, by the way. everything is forgiven because we know that you haven't worked. We know that you will be doing it for the first time. But people are not engaging. How many people do you see on LinkedIn trying to do a lot of stuff? And in fact, hats off to Neeru. I met her when she was starting her career. I have never known her to be shy. She would just walk up to the room and she will ask questions no matter what senior person that is. And this is why she is here today sitting on the panel. Yeah. And of course, the last but not the least, there are so many things that we are not comfortable doing. We will need to volunteer outside of our comfort zones because work is not always going to be going your way. There will, and somebody spoke about this earlier, you will have to find an opportunity in every crisis that you encounter. That's it. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks for sharing, Amrita. And I would also say find a mentor from the industry who you can learn from, somebody who can guide you, especially students who are still studying and pursuing their education. It's important to get that guidance early in your, your academic days. That really helps. Because faculty may not be experts, maybe that time to help you with mentorship. You only have to reach out and take those initiatives. Moving on, now we spoke about skills, challenges, and how this can be addressed. Maybe we can just talk about best practices now. What do you think? What are the best practices that are working really well in your organization, Sunanda? And then probably we can move to Dheeraj.
Thank you, Neeru, for putting this question. This gives a brand image to my company. We at WTI Cabs and Avik is the group companies only. We have started one practice from last year, that is hiring the fresh graduates into the organization. Now, and I'm really glad that my fresh graduate of my first batch is sitting here, and he's a part of my passion right now. Now, what happens is when you hire people as a fresh graduates in the organization, they come with an empty slate, right? They will have their own skills, knowledge, and everything. The basic things that we have done is we did their aptitude test, and we just wanted to understand, why do you want to join our company? We give the URL and we ask them to make their own answer, and based on their answer we are taking them, and then and there the panel actually realizes whether this person is for operations, shared services, or sales. So that is one of the best practice, and I take really pride that in the mobility industry we are the only one company who is doing this graduate management training. Now the second practice that we have done is, whatever the 1-year course that we do, it's like in every 3 months they will be getting an incentive plus a monthly stipend for that. To start with, the stipend may look lesser, but overall if we see, they get close to around 4 lakh rupees in a year for their internship with us, and that is a practical MBA that they are doing. Now we are in talks with the academia, with the skill development councils also, that to register our course or affiliate or accredit that course, so that whenever a student is coming, and even if he has completed 1 year of course and it doesn't go beyond that, at least the person should have a certificate that this person has done this, so that he is employable in the next organization. Third is, what we are doing is, right now, those of you who are the speakers, I'm sure they will be getting one magazine with them that is published by me, that is called Career Beacon. Now, we actually, when I took an interview with my CEO, I told him, see, this is something that I'm doing of myself. If you have any problem, then might be that we can reconsider my candidature, or if you want, I can pursue with that. So he was very happy that what I am doing, because it is not a conflict of interest. So what we are doing right now is, whenever the student is coming, we are asking them that where do you want to see yourself? And in case if someone is saying that I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to build up an app, I want to do this thing, we ensure that he is getting a right mentor in the organization. At times, there has been a situation when a person wants something and we know that we cannot offer. I made that person to resign, stating that it's better that you quit right now and go beyond your comfort zone to actually pursue the passion that you're doing. So the 3 things that in our company that we are doing is, 1 is the graduate trainee program. Second is academia collaboration, so that our course can be done. Third is tagging them with a mentor. And in case, if at all they are not aligning to the program and we see that they cannot move forward, we have a frank discussion with them, and it is not only HR limiting, this goes to the CEO and CEO calls the person to the room and speaks to that. So the open culture that we are doing that. Now, moving forward, one thing that I recently started with the help of our organization only, I'm doing a webinar series wherein we are just creating the curriculum that what exactly, how exactly the person from application to offer can actually move to. So these are the best practices of WTI and AWAKE. Thank you.
Thanks, Sunan. I would want to add something here. Even quality of internships is important, I believe. Like, the kind of work they do, I remember when I was interning, I was given, no job is small or big. I think you learn out of everything. But what kind of projects or what kind of activities we are giving to students, that's also important. So probably this is one of the things that, corporate academia both need to consider in order to collaborate. But great insights. And Dheeraj, what's your take on it? Any best practices you want to highlight that are working really well in your organization or any other organization that you're aware of?
So my company Regraduate works with two companies who are our clients, and I've seen that these companies are Hindustan Unilever and a technology startup called Off Business. So this is a $5 billion startup that also happens to be one of India's most profitable startups. So why I'm taking these two examples are these are two completely different companies. Hindustan Unilever is a company that all of you would know of, right? It's a large company, MNC background, huge cash flows, big brands. So they can hire anybody and they don't have really a problem in hiring people, right? But Off Business comparatively is a company that people really do not know of, people really do not aspire to work. But I've seen that both of them hire in a very similar fashion when they comes to their academic engagement with academic institutions. There are three practices that both of them do very well. First and foremost is they don't see HR as a HR activity. They see HR as a sales and marketing activity. So whenever they go to the campuses, they make sure it's not just for recruitment. They go many times through the year and they try to sell the career opportunities at their company. Their people will go there, tell students what the company can do for you. They really don't want you to tell them what you can do for the company. They tell you what the company can do for you. They emphasize on the fact that joining our organization will be a game changer for you. And trust me, it's something that a company like Off Business needs to do because it's a startup, but a company like Hindustan Unilever really doesn't need to do it. But they still do it. That is something that they take very, very seriously. That this is a sales and marketing activity. We have to sell ourselves, we have to market ourselves, only then we'll be able to engage people through the year. Second, what we've seen is when it comes to recruiting people, they don't like to recruit people just through interviews. They like to recruit people by keeping their interns, through live projects, through experiential engagements, so that they're able to judge people on the basis of their work rather than just on the basis of how fluently they can lie in English. The second is something that most companies fall for, and that is why Off Business, which is a B2B marketplace for SMEs, tries to hire people who are not that fluent in English, but who can understand the language of business and speak to small and medium traders. Again, this is something that Hindustan Unilever doesn't really need to do. They can afford to hire people, they can afford to ensure that people can be trained, they can spend any amount of money, but still they ensure they take their screening process very, very seriously, investing time in it and not considering it a cost. The third thing, what I've seen is they take their branding activities very, very seriously. So when they promise something to somebody, they ensure it is delivered. And it is not just for academic institutions, it is for their own employees. Because they know that their employees will go and talk to people outside. So whenever you talk to somebody from Hindustan Unilever, whenever you talk to somebody from Off Business, they become the brand advocates for their employers. Even when they've left these companies, they always talk good things about their employers. They always have wow things to say about their employers, even if they didn't like their boss. They will not complain about their boss, they will only say good things about their company. That's the kind of culture, that's the kind of partnership that leads to long-term results and long-lasting relationships for small startups like of business and large organizations like Hindustan Unilever. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dheeraj. And I see there's another initiative that's been taken by some of the organizations. They hire students as management trainees, they put them into cross-functional roles and then get them that exposure and then they confirm them as an employee. So that's a good practice. I believe that's one of the good practices that Aditya Birla, then GE, some of the organizations have taken. I see few smiles here. Maybe you're trying to relate the kind of examples I'm giving. Especially students here in the audience. Okay, great. So 1 minute conclusion from each speaker. Now let's have concluding remarks from everyone. Let's start with Surbhi.
Thank you, Neeru. I think that was a very insightful discussion and wonderful thoughts. I would really relate to Dheeraj saying that employer branding is must because the employees are actually the value ambassadors for us, and especially people who join us back, called the boomerang employees. They are one of the major focus for us when they are joining us back. Also, on a closing note, when we say that AI as an enabler or disruptor, I think in this era, it is very important that we keep upskilling ourselves in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the new skills that are coming into the market. Just to give a very small example, like my father is a doctor. He's a government doctor and he's been into service for 30 plus years now. When he started, he always used to, do everything on paper, pen, like that. But recently, in just 1.5 years back, everything has changed. Everything is digitized for them. For the first time, he was asking me, how should I, log into this page? How should I log into this portal? These are the apps. How should I, log in? So he kind of struggles and he's learning. At the age of 55, he's learning new things because, things have changed, things have digitized. So we have to ensure that, these things have to be considered and we have to upskill ourselves every day. So that is something that I want to, put as a closure to the discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Over to you.
Can we have you, Sunanda?
On the wrapping note, I would only mention that there is a generation gap. We need to understand. When we are talking about industry academia, you will find people who are 35 plus, 45 plus, 55 plus, and there are some people who are at 60 plus also. And when we are hiring people who are born in 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003 and beyond that, right? बहुत मरे से मरा कोई आएगा तो 1999 का बच्चा आएगा, ठीक है, मतलब the kind of अभी जो आएगा. So Neeru, to just reiterate what you are saying, that some of the companies are doing this practice. We, as of telling you that we are having a graduate management training program, we take them into as a fresher, as a graduate trainee. We take them for the 12 months into each and every department. And finally, we discuss कि हाँ आपका ये department आपको अच्छा लगा. Like even if it is operations, we have got a couple of verticals and we ask them where do you want to go, right? So this is one, and I know industry is sitting. We as an industry should embrace the Gen Z, and we need to understand that they are the people who are Instagram and Snapchat wale bacche. They need everything instantly. So instant gratification, instant tap, or pat on their back, or maybe an instant smiley जो उनको देना है. And do not expect from Gen Z that they will say good morning sir, good evening sir, because they are in their own world, as Amrita has very clearly said. 2 मिनट में मिलेगा तो वो Instagram या Snapchat में देखेंगे snap streak बनाना है. So we cannot expect anything from them. But Gen Z, one thing that she actually mentioned, Amrita, is that look at that how employer friendly are you when you're posting on social media. You might be having a cup of coffee, you might be wearing your off shoulder, you might be in the night party, but please ensure that what are you going to showcase to the organization. I specifically, in our hiring process, we go through the LinkedIn profile, my Facebook profile. I have a dedicated resource who has to actually scan everyone's social profile just to see कि वो गलत जगह पे कोई comment तो नहीं कर रहा है. So social media footprint is something, as students are sitting, they have to take care of that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have Amrita next.
Okay, so I think we clearly established that Gen Z is going to be definitely far more self-assured, far more confident, right? Gray is not an option. We will redefine things, we will create new things if need has to be. But an organization will have to cater to multiple generations in the same office. We are not only hiring Gen Z, we're also hiring millennials like me, who are not very demanding and very nice people as well. But I think all we really need to do is a little more resilience, a little more perseverance, and we can be the best of what we want to be. Just that much. Thank you.
I think it was great hearing all your thoughts, and I resonate with all of you. And in the end, I'd only like to say that no matter which relationship you're crafting, is it with the academic institution, or is it with the organization, or is it with your co-workers or boss, always ensure that you're watching your own actions and your own behavior from a very selfish perspective. It's always a great idea to improve yourself rather than finding faults in others, because it's really stupid to give me advice if I don't want your advice. So make sure that you focus on improving yourself rather than improving others. That's the best way to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and a lot of flexibility. No matter whatever you do, just get into the role, start learning out of it. And don't be rigid. No, this is what I want to do. This is not my job. That's not how the mindset should be. So with this, thank you so much, panel. Once again, it was really insightful discussion. Thanks everyone once again. And with this, I'll hand it over. Now, any questions from the audience? We'll be happy to take maybe one or two questions. Anyone who has any questions related to whatever we discussed, or you want to share any perspective from your end, out of your experiences, wherever you're working, anything you want to share with everyone, we'll be happy to hear that as well. Okay, we have Smita there.
I think the program that I'm going to talk about is fairly common, and it's a training program that we run campus to corporate, right? How effective it is, and what is the content that we are delivering there, how much of it is getting translated when the person actually hits the floor remains to be seen. But I think that's a small window that we have to really give that space to the fresher, new hire who has joined in the organization. I think I see it like a soft launch pad for the new hire, and it's essential that we have a strong campus to corporate program in our organization if you are going to take fresh graduates.
Sure. Thanks, Smita. Anyone else? Okay, Atish has raised his hand.
So I just want to share two experiences that I had visiting campuses without naming the colleges. First is we have been to one of the campuses and have been interviewing people. So everybody followed the same template of CVs. In fact, so much so that everybody had same hobbies. Okay, so you interviewed first person with the same hobby, second person same hobby, and third one actually forgot to change the email ID also. So he copied the second person's email ID. So I think this is something which I really want to call out. Guys, the CV or the profile that you make is something which lands up on the recruiter's hand first. Okay, so that's your first impression. So create it well before so it should create you, it should not destroy you, number one. Number two is, so for example, this has been tier 2, tier 3 college experience. So we went to the college and we were hiring some people for the sales role. So a guy came with a specialization in sales and marketing. So we asked, what is that you want to do in your career? So he said hardcore marketing. So I was taken aback, hardcore marketing, when so far in my career only have heard about marketing or various kinds of marketing. What is hardcore marketing? So I kept digging, and he had nothing to substantiate what he just mentioned, hardcore marketing. Okay, so this is second thing. So whatever subjects or whatever courses you are studying, just be a little thorough about it. Or secondly, whatever you are saying in the interview, okay, so the interviewer or the recruiter is not a fool, okay, he's going to ask you back. So it's like a vicious circle. You vomit something, he'll put that vomit on you. So you have to be absolutely careful. Every word that you speak, you can be actually entangled in it. Okay, so you have to be very clear. It should not be a hardcore marketing or it should be a softcore marketing. Okay, so just be very mindful of the words. Similar experience, HR. Okay, so HR, we went to one of the good institutes to hire HR folks, and everybody wanted to land up into engagement. And engagement is what they saw on LinkedIn. Okay, so we were taken aback, and again, like what most of the people in the panel mentioned, so keep following what is happening in the world, keep following your mentors, identify your mentors, pick up best things from them, and I think that will make you fly. Thank you.
Thanks, Satish. And keep networking. Wherever you go, whatever events you attend, get to know one another. What do they do? Any best practices you get to learn from them. Try sharing it in your organization. I think that really helps. Sure. Probably that was a trigger to the next point.
No, I wanted to be a part of this panel. You didn't invite me.
Sure.
Okay, so one more, in fact, one more thing that I really want to advise. I can only see 2 kids in the room, and this is for these 2 kids especially. Okay, don't stop learning. Okay, what we have felt is when you are in college or you're in your B schools, okay, those are the only days when you actually follow the notebooks or the books that are being, and then the moment you step out, you are so high on your life that you tend to forget everything. Okay, so don't stop reading, don't stop studying. Anybody you see around who has been a successful person or a professional have been good students in their entire life. Okay, so they have been somebody who have been always reading, always doing or trying to put new things. So never stop learning, and that's how you will grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone, and thank you panel once again for the insightful discussion. So with this we'll conclude this, and I'll hand it over to Ananya. Yes, we'll take a group picture.
I would like to hand over the stage to Ms. Neeru Monga for the memento distribution.
Oh, thank you.